Hi, welcome to the Fainting Room.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Fainting Room. My name is Julia, I'm your host, and I'm not sure why people still own Confederate flags. It's weird and offensive. Today we are going to be continuing our discussion surrounding African American history and talking a little bit about the first wave feminist movement. We are going to be focusing in on one of my favorite African American female writers, Angela Davis. She has become increasingly popular given the civil rights movement happening right now, and a lot of people are reading more of her books, which is so awesome. So I'm happy to say that this episode might be the most relevant one yet. Majority of my knowledge is around feminist theory, and I absolutely adore the way that Angela Davis talks about intersectionality and really the failures of the suffrage movement to include African American women. I've posted a link in the description where you can go download some of her books in PDF form. I highly recommend all of them. These three are my favorites, and today we're going to be focusing on her book written in 1981 called Women, Race, and Class. Davis spends a lot of time presenting information from the first wave feminist movement and discussing how the timeline between abolition and the first wave feminist movement completely changed female ideology. Now, as we've mentioned in the past, white women were pretty much the face of morality. And given the fact that slavery is obviously immoral, they were the poster children for abolition as well. Female abolitionists within the mid-19th century pushed for what we now refer to as the 13th and 14th Amendment. The 13th Amendment being the abolishment of slavery, and the 14th Amendment being that all citizens were equal under the law no matter race. Now, where we lose female support was the 15th Amendment, which granted Black people the right to vote. Davis explains that we lose female support with the 15th Amendment because when it came down to the right to vote, white women believed that they should have the vote over Black people. Now, as I mentioned last week, both Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton were key players within the first wave feminist movement, and both of which get called out in Davis's work. Both of these women were extremely explicit in their writing that they did not believe Black people should have the right to vote. Davis criticizes Stanton for her explicit desire to prevent progress for Black people, especially if it meant white women might not, quote, enjoy the immediate benefits of that progress, end quote. You see, many of the written letters and proposals from Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton were inherently racist. Many first-wave feminists had no problem arguing that white women who were middle class and educated had a far more compelling claim for suffrage than Black people and immigrants. But many of them didn't consider themselves racist. Like I said last week, Frances Gage was an activist. She wasn't considered racist. In fact, many of these feminists at least attempted to be intersectional. They held meetings under the name Equal Rights Association, and they tried to push legislation that was beneficial for both Black people and white women. From the looks of it, during the Civil War, white women were focused on emancipation. But as the timeline changed, white women believed that because they took on this white savior role, they were owed the right to vote. Sort of like when you are babysitting your little cousins for the day and then you expect a PS5. That's right. The first wave feminist theory was the same ideology as the benefits of household chores. And on that dangerously horrifying truth, we are taking our intermission. But today we are not going to be rapping Nicki Minaj. Can you do that sound effect? Thank you. In honor of Gay Pride Month and this weekend supposed to be the Pride Parades, I decided to include the segment Gay Fact. I will be presenting my favorite gay fact from queer history. Now I know what you're thinking. What does the YMCA stand for? The YMCA stands for Young Men's Christian Association. It was founded in London during the Industrial Revolution. Now, it migrated here in America within the mid-19th century and was founded in Washington, D.C. by Anthony Bowen, a former slave. By 1853, there were over 30,000 members total. The YMCA quickly became a place where men would go when they were away from their families and their friends, and they were traveling on work, or just a club for them to go and read the Bible and study religion. It really acted as a safe haven for so many men that were really dedicated to the religion of Christianity. But in actuality, the majority of these men were gay, and the YMCA became a place where they would go to be gay and have sex, gay sex. They were gay. Now, I find this fact awesomely ironic because, as I'm sure you can assume, many Christians pride themselves in being very homophobic, and they do not agree with the lifestyle of homosexuality, as they must say. But I just love this tidbit because it's ironic, and the YMCA is a really large part of Catholic and Christian history, and it was founded by pretty much a bunch of gay men within America. So that's awesome. Go be gay. Extra gay today for the men at the YMCA. Hell yeah. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. And we are back. I hope you enjoy the gay fact. We are now going to get back to talking about Davis and her book and how feminist theory really influenced another major player in this game, named Frederick Douglass. Now, Frederick Douglass was a former slave, a free black man, who heavily pushed for the 15th Amendment. He was a scholar and an activist and pretty much besties with Abraham Lincoln. And yes, I'm jealous. Davis explains that his reasoning behind the 15th Amendment was that black people's right to vote was crucial for their survival. Especially after witnessing the continued slaveocracy and the failure of Reconstruction, he heavily promoted the idea that black people needed to be in government in order to create change. Douglass directly opposed the first wave feminists' ideology behind the fact, saying, "When women, because they are women, are dragged from their homes and hung upon lampposts, when their children are torn from their arms and their brains dashed upon the pavement, when they are objects of insult and outrage at every turn, when they are in danger of having their homes burnt down over their heads, when their children are not allowed to enter schools, then they will have the same urgency to obtain the ballot." So we have directly opposing theories. We have the first wave feminists believing that they should have the right to vote over black men because they fought for abolition and because they're more educated. And then you have Douglass saying, no, black people need to vote. They need the 15th Amendment so that way they can survive. Davis concludes this chapter in her book, debunking everything. Davis acknowledged that the situation was pretty much horrible for both parties, also acknowledge the fact that both parties did not even recognize the fact that they almost had no say in the matter given the capitalist Republican Party that was taking control of everything anyway. Davis argues that the detriment to civil rights after the Civil War stemmed from capitalism and not the legalities of voting. The economic statutes were structured around slavery, centuries of wage theft, trading in human bondage, and reparations for slave owners after emancipation entrenched this capitalist system. When we say slaveocracy, we're talking about the economic system that was built around slaves pretty much since the beginning of time. Slave owners had so much power in state governments, so they were able to protect their wealth even after emancipation. They completely shaped our socioeconomic and public policies that surround inequity around race. The systems are set up to benefit slave owners, as well as limit our democracy. And on that, I now leave you on the horrors of capitalism. This just keeps getting better. It is true that our economy pretty much runs everything. Economy dictates where you are in life, your status, no matter what. But the economy is dictated by systems. And majority of the systems are put in place to protect white people. Rich white people, might I add. So unfortunately, that's all the time we have left for today. But next week, we're going to continue talking about the failures of intersectionality on more modern feminist movements and the dangers of excluding Black women from conversations. So happy Pride, everybody. Remember to stay safe, keep on causing trouble, and most importantly, keep on being gay. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to come out to my boyfriend now.
Wait, what?